What's up, guys? Rick here with my top 5 sleepers for this week's AT&T Pebble Beach. These are golfers that are a little bit further down the betting board, a little bit cheaper on your favorite daily fantasy site that I think are going to offer a bit of value, to be quite frank. Looking back at last week, Henrik Norlander, Bubba Watson, Brendan Steele, Russell Henley, and Sebastian Munoz were the 5 sleepers. 4 of them finished inside the top 30, and Sebastian Munoz finished dead last, and there was no shortage of you coming back to tell me what an idiot that I am. So congratulations, your victory. I got victory lapped for that quite a bit. So you got me. You got me good. Looking forward to this week, it's a very top-heavy field. It's certainly one where almost all of these guys are more expensive or shorter than we've seen them historically. But I'm going to start with Sam Burns, and I've spent a lot of oxygen on Sam Burns, and I feel like I have to. What we're seeing right now from a ceiling standpoint is really impressive. I talked about this on the Monday DFS preview. 4 of Sam Burns' 10 rounds this year, he has gained at least 3.5 strokes on the field. The other golfers who have had 4 such rounds like that, Xander Schauffele's done it 5 times. Justin Thomas has done it 4, the same as Sam Burns, and Siwoo Kim has done it 4. That's it. That's in this calendar year. So what he's doing when he's on is real ceiling stuff. Now, he's had some really horrific rounds as well, as opening round at the American Express, his Sunday at Torrey Pines. But for the most part, we're seeing a lot of really good golf for Sam Burns, who isn't going to be able to let that driver fly as much as he would like this week, or at least it's not going to be as big of an advantage on a really short course like Pebble Beach. But he is going to have shorter clubs into nearly every single one of these greens than all of his peers. I'm interested to see if he can continue this good stretch going. And at 50-1, it's a pretty decent investment, outside of like Cantlay, Dustin Johnson, not too much threatening stuff in this field. Sam Burns or a sleeper could absolutely win this week. Kevin Streelman at 55-1 is next on this list. And here we go again. Kevin Streelman leading into an event that he has just absolutely, I don't want to say dominated because he hasn't won, but has played so well at over the years. He was top 10 in strokes gained approach last week in Phoenix. You look at what he's done at Pebble Beach just the last 5 years. Here we go. 2nd, 7th, 6th, 14th, and 17th. 5 consecutive finishes inside the top 17. Obviously a shorter course that really benefits the ball strikers, guys that are going to be able to hit these really, really tiny greens and then just roll in enough putts. And that has worked for Kevin Streelman over the years. He's 55-1. Which is obviously shorter than I would normally like to get Kevin Streelman at on a weekly basis, but weak field, great history, good form coming in. I can absolutely buy Streelman at 55-1. Next up is Peter Malnati at 70-1, and this guy is just an absolute lunatic. I love him so much. He has 4 top 15 finishes already this season. It's like half of his starts, he's finished inside the top 15. He is a fantasy scoring dream. So maybe this is better on your favorite fantasy site, maybe as opposed to an outright, although I do think there's top 5 and top 10 upside for Malnati, but he makes so many birdies and he will offset them with a ton of bogeys, but he will figure out a way to line your fantasy scoring pockets, so to speak. And what I think is interesting about Malnati is he's kind of different, right? He's going to rely a lot on the short game. He's going to rely a lot on the putter. And most places, that's not great, but Pebble Beach, where everyone's kind of missing the greens because they are so small and you're going to have to get up and down a lot, I kind of like it here. This is one of the rare cases where the course key stats model that I run in the full Monday video, strokes gained around the green is actually more important than strokes gained approach historically through the model. So it's kind of a weird combination for Peter Malnati to fly up the leaderboard, but I certainly think there is a path for him this week, and I certainly think it's viable in top 10 markets for sure. Next is Harold Varner III, who's coming off a T13 last week in Phoenix, and he's been a bit of a popper in this season. You know, he alternated 13th with missed cut and then a 15th and then a missed cut. And then he didn't play well at either the Farmers Insurance Open or at Mayakoba, but he pops off in Phoenix last week. And, you know, the skill set's there. The skill set is there for Harold Varner III. We actually did a segment on the First Cut podcast, the CBS Sports podcast that I host, about which golfer outside the top 100 this year could get into like the top 30. And I actually thought Varner was an option for that because his profile of being a good ball striker, little lame on the putting greens and having just a little difficulty on Sundays in his career, that's a pretty good profile that has made a lot of guys a lot of money. And I thought that if he broke through, finally got a win somewhere, he'd fly up the world rankings, and then also he'd kind of break through this one barrier. And we saw that approach magic last week. I think he was top 10 in strokes gained approach. He played well all week long. And again, these are small greens. If you're going to miss them, you got to have a good short game. The other option is don't miss them, right? Just hit these small greens, be a good ball striker, and see what you can do. So I still have a lot of optimism in Harold Varner III long-term, but I think this is one of the better courses to set up for him. And again, there is not a ton of studs in this field. There is a really, really good chance that one of these longer 50-1 guys wins this golf tournament. Finally, Chez Reavie, 160-1. And, you know, Reavie came into our ether a bit last week because somebody dropped a $700 bet on him at 300-1, and it made its way around golf Twitter, and that was a thing for, you know, about 12 holes or so. But I actually think this is a better spot for Reavie than last week was in Phoenix. And the reason I think that is I was in the Holy Grail on RickRunGood.com, and I just went back to the start of 2016, so basically 5 years, and I said, give me the best guys on small greens, because there's nothing better or nothing smaller than these greens at Pebble Beach. And of the guys who have played at least 100 rounds on small greens, Chez Reavie has the 5th best strokes gained total number in this field. It's remarkable, and it makes sense, right? He has historically been a very good iron player. Then I went one step further, and I said, okay, small greens plus Poana greens. First of all, how many rounds do these guys even have on that, and who's the best? Well, Reavie has 21 rounds, and he's the best. The only guy in this field over 2 strokes per round on small greens that are Poana. Brant Snedeker's up there as well. Jim Furyk, Phil Mickelson, Kevin Streelman. But I think that the ball striking prowess that we know that Chez Reavie has, the probably lack of interest. I mean, you know, he got the buzz last week for the bet. I don't think there's any buzz around him this week. I think it's a much better setup. He's historically played well on small greens, putts well on Poana. Let's go. Chez Reavie, 160-1. See what happens. All right, there you go. My top 5 sleepers for this week's AT&T Pebble Beach. Let me know which I'm right about, which I'm wrong about, or wait 18 holes and then come back and tell me I'm an idiot for Chez Reavie. That seems to be a very popular choice of feedback as well. Either way, tweet me, RickRunGood. Leave a comment below. Best of luck this week. I'll talk to you guys soon.